I was standing there with two little toddlers, and all of a sudden there was this sound behind us, and we jumped a mile, whipped around. I was convinced there was some monster there. And there was a man with this huge smile, a big cowboy hat and feather, holding a kazoo. And he reached into his pocket and started handing my kids candy, and I thought, never take candy from a pig. So he chatted with us for a few minutes, and then he left, and my editor came in. I said, who was that man? She said, that's your boss, Lou Ball. So I let the kids have the candy. There have been plenty of other memories. A time when one of our editors was swamped, and Peg Giles called and said, we have 20 photos we have to take for the newcomers. We'll divvy them up. And our editor never even noticed. And we did it. I'm sure all of you have memories, and I'm going to encourage everybody to just think of something and be bold and brave and say it. Now, there was somebody who was going to be second for me. Greg, where is he? Right there. Right there. Tell them who you are.
My name is Greg McLaughlin. I was a contributing editor between 1991 and 1993, I think it was. And I remember my first day here at the Herald. I met the sports editor who I was going to be working for. And I remember she was wearing a black mini skirt and a purple shirt. See, I was a very observant reporter. And I thought to myself, wow, she seems very nice, she's very cute. And my first assignment was to go take a picture of this BMX bike racer. And my job was to keep all the wild dogs away from her while she took the picture. And I thought that was just great. But of course, I couldn't ask this girl out because I was an intern. I wasn't even getting paid, and working 5 hours a week or something like that. So I decided if I were going to ask this girl out, I would have to be promoted. So I worked like 30 hours a week the entire summer for nothing. And at the end of the summer, I got promoted, and I asked her out, and we went out. And now 5 years later, and 2 jobs later, we're getting married. Sherry, who was a sports editor here.
That's nice.
I had a story that a few people here know, and I told a few people today. It's how I met Lou Ball. Joan was in Hartford Hospital and just had Teddy, our middle son, who appropriately enough was born on December 7th. I walk in on December 8th, and there's a big bouquet of flowers with a card on it that says, "Congratulations, love, Lou." And I had not sent the flowers. This was a private room. I could ill afford flowers. So I turned around and I said, "Who the hell is Lou?" And she said, "Well, that's Lou Ball, the fighting editor of the Farmington Valley Herald." I was at the Hartford Times. I never heard of him. But we were moving into our new home on Westwood Drive on January 2nd. And he knew that. January 4th, there comes a knock on the door, 11 o'clock at night. Joni runs over, looks out the door, says, "Louie," opens the door, he comes in, stands on tiptoes, gives her a big kiss. I'm standing there and I'm looking at her and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, who the hell's this guy? Turns around, the jacket said, "Skidmore." So I said, I didn't know what to say. I said, "Did you go to Skidmore?" He turns around and says, "Yeah, you want to make something of it?" Lou Ball. He was after me, not after her, because he just bought out Bill and Honey Bear, and he didn't have a clue as to how to put a newspaper together. All he'd ever done was the editorials. So I joined Louis for 7 years, 8 years. We never had so much fun. A hell of a good paper.
A hell of a good editor.
Remember when we changed the paper and went to the horizontal layout? Yeah, we did. We mimicked the Hartford Times and went to big artwork, multi-column artwork and everything. And boy, the circulation went right up.
Somebody else? Come on, there's got to be somebody.
Lorraine?
I'll take it.
Great, all right.
I think most people have heard this story a half dozen times, but it's my favorite one on Lou Ball. Lou used to always call up and be different people. He'd call up to be President of the United States. He'd Shunkai Shek. He could be anybody on the phone when he'd call up.
Governor Dempsey.
Yeah, and so one time I did a column on the bad service from the post office. in the winter time when I kept going to the box and didn't get my mail, and I'd go down to the post office and they would have the mail in the truck, and weeks would go by and I couldn't get mail. And the postmaster was infuriated, absolutely infuriated, and wrote a letter to the paper saying that Lou should let housewives, was his expression, like me, express thoughts about the post office. And I was kind of shook up, and I'm at work this day, and I get a telephone call, and the man on the phone says, "This is the Postmaster General of the United States." Now, because I was shook up, he got me that day. He really got me, and I am there really shaky, and he's saying, "Did you write a column concerning the United States? Don't you know Rule 06543? And he said, "I think I can get you a suspended sentence." It was only at that point that I thought, why would the Postmaster General be calling me? But he could do it to me every time in wonderful ways. Okay, who's next?
Come on, you guys, don't be shy.
Roberta.
Sally, Roberta?
Go ahead.
Pardon my back. That's my indulgence.
Okay, Roberta.
How do you do this without crying? That's what I want. Well, as we all know, the most important thing that we remember is each other. Each other. I could tell an anecdote about each one of you, and we would laugh a lot, but the thing that stands out for me, the one single story that stands out most for me, is one year when we did a special section during the holidays, and Sue Miller wrote this story about her cat. Her Christmas cat, her holiday cat, and it was a very moving piece, and when I read it, I found myself fighting tears, editing the copy. And also, we remember Lou's dog. Who doesn't remember Lou's dog? He's the first guy I ever knew who took his dog to work, not the last. It's a sad day to see the Herald close, but a happy day that we're all together. I'm glad that I had a chance to see all of you. Penny, I think you should come next.
Put my beer down.
I don't know. They're all memories, good memories. Hard work, learning, getting to know about newspaper business from really professional people, and seeing them come and go because they had to move on. Still moving on. It's like the leaves of a book, just turning over and turning over, and some went through so quickly you didn't even really get to know more than their names, and then they were gone. But it was a tribute, I think, to Lou and to his vision and his hard work for what he wanted to do as a small town newspaper man that made good, and he has always had my respect. He's done so much for young people and extended himself above and beyond to the community, and I know that they respect him for it and appreciate it, and I know that we do as his friends and his former employees. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you.
Sally.
I'm not going to do this, but I guess Penny and I have probably been here the longest of anybody. And Eunice, other than some of the correspondence, but still hanging in there. I don't know why, but.
You always said that.
Now, anyway. But I'll tell you, this has been one experience that I'll never forget. I've met some of the nicest people you could ever want to meet. And it's just been the most fun job, and of course, good old Louie held it all together. And I think we certainly owe him a lot, but I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I just don't have words to say how much fun it's been. Obviously, I stayed around for a long time because I really enjoyed what I was doing. 20 years. 20
Yay!
years. So, thank you all for coming. It's been great, and I'm just sorry that, there were an awful lot. I think I came up with about 150 names of people that have come in and out of this door in the last 20, 30 years, and unfortunately they couldn't all be here, but the ones that did, we certainly appreciate you all coming. And thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just before she takes over, a commercial message. If you would like to see a brick with the Farmington Valley Herald on, where is it, up at the
Simsbury Town Hall.
Simsbury Town Hall,
Walkway.
drop a buck in a basket over there. We need 55 of those little bucks.
We want to talk about Lou, and we're the Nora, so we have one voice. As an inspiration, and he was an inspiration to both of us. We were housewives in Simsbury, and we were not terribly happy with our lives. And he hired us as a duo, the first job sharing that I'd ever heard about. He offered Nora a job, and she said, I can't do a job because I don't have time, and he said, well, find a friend. So she found another Nora, and we came together, and we shared the classified circulation and the classified. And Lou showed us a lot about the world through the newspaper. He really did. We learned to feel confident in ourselves. He inspired us. He encouraged us. He made us feel good about ourselves. So we left. We both went back to school, and we both really reached our own goals. And it was because Lou had faith in us and believed in us. And I think very fondly of Lou for that.
Thank you.
He gave me a glowing recommendation, which helped too. But it's more than a newspaper man. He's been an inspiration to a lot of people, I think. And we thank him, and we love him.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou.
Who's next?
Well, perhaps Lou would like to
There's
say
a young
many
man in the
words.
back of the room that should come up here and say something.
Come on, Chris.
Chris?
Come up there, Dan.
These are my successors, my son Christopher, my grandson Daniel, and my granddaughter Emily.
Say hi to the camera.
First time she hasn't talked.
Well, there's plenty of time for that. I also worked at the Herald many, many years ago, and my mother just reminded me of the day my father fired me. I guess I was supposed to clean the office every week, and one week I missed a week, but I still ended up going back. Oh, we. And I cleaned for a number of years, and then I was a member of the production staff all the way through college, and it was a great experience, especially working for my dad. Sorry I wasn't able to follow him into the business, but I saw the hard work that he put into it and the number of hours he put in every week, and I said, that's not for me. But he got a lot of enjoyment out of it, so it's great. So, your turn.
Thank you. The best thing I can say is thank you. I've been here for 42 years, and over the 42 years I've met some of the most wonderful people in the entire world. I put a lot into it, but I assure you I got back far more than I ever put into it. You've all been wonderful people, and I'm all very, very, very proud of knowing you and having been associated with you. And again, I say thank you to all of you. I love you.
I think there's a story that's been left out here today, and I've got to tell it because I'm just a local PR man that came in and dropped all my releases here. Lou always took care of me. I go back before those 42 years because I'm only 22 with Lou. And we learned a lot, but Lou did, first of all, I want to say he did a lot for the communities. I used to run teen clubs, and without his support of backing the youth in the valley, we would have never gotten off the ground. And I see teen clubs being started here in Simsbury again and what have we. I did the one in 1958 for Avon for 4 years, and it was Lou that put me on the front page. He gave me an award with the Junior Chamber of Commerce, and Lou, I'm grateful. But Lou and I go back because we were in the Army Intelligence together. That does not mean you have to be intelligent. My colonel was Jack Tierney, and my partner later on and we got together on a lot of stories, but the one story I really want to tell, and I don't know if any of you know, and I just revived it the other day for the PR man with Nancy Johnson. How many of you know that Lou Ball mooned Nancy Johnson? She will never forget it. I was at a rally once, and I said, Nancy, I'm Carl Candell, you know, I'm over in Avon and everything, and I'm working in the Valley with Lou Ball and everything. She said, do you know what Lou Ball did to me? And I think it's an important thing that he's a real person, and when he flashes well. And, you know, she had the PR man call up and say, hey, get Lou over here to Bristol, we're gonna have an interview, and Lou says, if you want my backing, you come over there. And so she called right back, right, Lou? She called you right back. And she says, so where do you go? Well, you come down here and go down this street, and then you look up on a hill, and there I am. I'll be mooning you. And she said, yeah, sure, I'll be right. And she came over, and sure enough, he was. And so round, so firm, so fully packed. I don't know what it was there, but I understand you did that in Italy, too. Yes, you did. And spaghetti's never been the same. Anyway, Lou, you have been a very close friend of, and Bernice and Peter Durham, Dick Matthews, who took all the great pictures for your paper back in those days. And I have a book back there, 35 years ago, pictures Matthews took at a lot of the parties, you, Bernice, and all of it. We had Roman orgies, German orgies, and everything. We had a lot of fun, but fun was the people. The fun was that we worked at it, but it came automatic with us. And Lou, you always made us very happy, and we love you. And this is not a farewell. This is we're going to go on forever, Lou. Only the good die young. Okay, God love it.
I just want to ask, how many people here used to be at Old Mill Lane and remember the weekly floods every spring? Where everything that wasn't nailed down floated by, and everybody had to pitch in and walk on tiptoes through the water. That happened at least once a week every spring. And I remember starting at the Farmington Valley Herald and bringing my young son, who was about 6, and the first thing he spied was Lou's tri-corner hat that I think was given to him by the Tercentenary Committee. And of course, that was it. You know, he had that tri-cornered hat on. He was thrilled with it. And of course, he immediately started walking out the door with it, and Lou just plucked it off of him. But on his birthday, he received an inexpensive replica, and we still have a picture of the tri-cornered hat in our house.
Thank you. And I'll say the arrow that went through the years. Many times. Anyone else like to say something?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I'm Clay Fisher, back in time article writer from 1988 to present. I live on Nimrod Road, which leads down to the town forest. And one day, simultaneous with a balloon flight coming over, all of a sudden, I don't know how many cars with young people came roaring up from the town forest. And for some reason, I happened to meet Lou a couple days later, and he knew the answer. He said that, you know, he's the justice of the peace. And a young couple wanted to be married in a balloon. And so he agreed to do that. And the balloon left from Farmington and was to go to the Opera Country Club. Well, anyway, it got rather low over the town forest. And Lou noticed all these kids in their cars milling around. So he leaned over the side and said, "This is the state police. We're going to land in a couple of minutes. Get your ID card."
Here we have something for you here. This is a card from all of us.
Oh, thank you.
You can turn it around here. And if you haven't signed this today, please do so before you leave. We still have room.
Oh, how nice.
Okay?
Thank you.
You want to tear it down? You want to tear it down, Kenny?
Anyone else like to say something?
My name's Jerry DeSamus. I was the sports editor here in the late 80s. I started here in 1981 as just submitting articles. Lou was kind enough to just say, send it in and we'll put it in the paper. And one of the neat things I thought about the Farmington Valley Herald was that it was a real community newspaper and it really served the community. And I think that was what made it special. It made it special to the communities. It made it special for me to work here. And I find it ironic as I've continued in journalism these days that bigger newspapers, what they do now, or what they're focusing on now is becoming community newspapers, and they're doing what Lou Ball and the Farmington Valley Herald did all along, try to serve the local community. So I was really proud to work here, and if I could do something like this, if I could do something like what you did, I think it'd be a good time.
Compliment.
Doc?
Pat Estel.
Oh my goodness.
Lou, I haven't had a chance to see you today. How are you, honey?
I'm glad you made it. Glad you're here. Joyce Dunning, Dublin.
I'm going to say a few words. I haven't come prepared to say anything, but someone I heard say earlier that they don't know how they can be up here without crying. I'm not sure I can. I feel like my life began at the Farmington Valley Herald, and it's because of you. That's the truth.
That's beautiful.
Well, I felt beautiful with you, Lou, and you gave me a start in my life that I'll never forget. And I'm sure I'm one of many that can say that about Lou, and I'm sure there are people that all over this town and the state of Connecticut that feel the same way I do and just don't say it.
San Jose, California.
San Jose, California, you got that right, and Michigan, and just all over the nation. Thanks so much.
Thank you for everything. You made my life beautiful. Right?
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to stay?
Sue Miller, come on, Betty.
Yeah, do Sue. Yes.
Come on.
Hi, Lou.
Hi, Sue.
How are you? Well, thank you. It's, I can't tell you how happy I am to see all the editors. I started at the Herald in '79 and was here for 9 years, and I've seen so many old friends here. It's just wonderful. I'm just sorry it's a sad occasion because the Herald was a wonderful experience for so many of us. And Lou was wonderful to all of us. Hear that? Paula.
Rosa.
I kind of go way back. I followed in Peter Durham's footsteps. I was here with 2 little children. Loved journalism. I had gone to journalism school. Didn't think I was not a modern woman. Couldn't leave my babies. And Lou taught me something. He taught me you can do anything. And I said to him, I can't do this job because I've got children. And he said, yes, you could. And I did. And I did it probably without ever hiring babysitters somehow. But I had a great time doing it, and I learned so much and was able to do work in what my first love is, and that's newspaper work.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You gave us much more than you got, I assure you.
Oh, I don't think so. Except the day I left to go in teaching, I remember Lou said, I know why you have to go to make money.
No.
I think I had my first stuff in the Farmington Valley Herald back in probably the early '70s when Lou was a kid. And but what I remember, one of the things I'll always remember about Lou, because it's sort of symbolic about him, is the way he shows the great job he does with the Cub Scouts, showing them around the building. They love it, and it's fun to watch Lou. And he's done a fantastic job in this community, despite the fact that he's an old Navy gunner.
Thank you.
when I first started, it was Mill Road, I guess.
Oh, Mill Lane.
Mill Lane. Somebody said, would I like to go out and cover a sports event? And I thought, well, I've got 2 babies, and I didn't even know who was the sports editor, except that I went to cover a softball game, girls softball, for Granby and East Granby. And to this day, I wrote a story that was so magnificent. I told about the best coaches I had seen and how they were encouraging their team and how great everybody was and how nice to each other. And I went on for pages. Really wrote a good story. But I had promised the coaches the score was so horrible that I did not report the score. And I came in and I gave my story, and he says, what's the score? I said, I can't tell you. I promised the teams. I said it was really rather sad, and I just don't think anyone should know. They said, well, you can't publish a sports story without a score. And I said, well, then don't publish it. But it was a very nice game, and everyone tried to and you still kept me. But we got a lot of play out of that team because people kept calling saying, what was the score? And I think it was something like 45-3.
You did the right thing.
I think I did the right thing.
I assume East Granby won.
I'll never tell that either. See how excited everyone gets on my sports writing? I was very good.
Come on, Bernice. I think we should hear from Bernice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bernice.
We ought to have a few words from Bernice.
Well, I just took a bunch of pictures for you. Your camera's like mine. Your camera's like mine. And
Well, you've all done very well, and you all are going to get your articles published. The only thing I would like to add is that Lou is an extremely generous person. A story came in to him, directly to him, and what happened was he gave it to me. I just turned it right over and let me do it, and the darn thing won an award, which really should have been Lou's, but he was so generous to give it to somebody who at that point in time needed a little boost, and that was a really nice boost. If nobody else wants to speak, go back to eating, drinking, carousing.
I'm Stu Hall, and I think I predate everybody who has spoken so far, and I just felt that maybe a few words about the Herald as an institution, in addition to the famous editor here, were in order. But I'm the one who is alleged to have had a father who was in advertising back in the 20s. Well, that wasn't quite right. My father was an advertiser with the Farmington Valley Herald in the 1920s, and I just remember those days. And from then on until 1973, when I bowed out of the business thanks to a massive heart attack, our business was Hall Brothers, and I remember the Herald, and I think in every location that it ever had, probably. In my early recollection is a man named Steve Potvin, who was editor and a very quality editorial writer. He went on to be a very respected writer for the Current, and I expose out of those days, in those days they were in Collinsville, and you spoke of floods. Well, they had a real one over there, and that was the end of that location. The next remembrance I have was of Bill Downey, Porter's father, charging around, and he was certainly a character, almost characteristics of this editor, but well known for his editorials, which usually stirred up considerable comment. I remember when Lou Ball and Bill Bear came into the Herald, and wishing them luck, and the Herald certainly was an institution in those days, respected
in the valley, but what was said in the editorial pages was very important and was watched for eagerly by people who are in business, in politics, or in other areas of community interest. My recollection of Lou is that I looked forward to preparing an ad and taking it to the Herald because that was an experience. Just being with, something was going to happen. I don't have any funny stories to tell you, but Lou and I do share a common interest in music and in jazz in particular. And I got the phone calls. He might be Maynard Ferguson or something like that. I think the funny, I do have a funny story, by golly. He frequently had tapes and I could never get away from him. Come here, I want you to hear this, I want you to hear this. And one day he got me into his car and I thought, oh my Lord, how long am I going to be stuck here? And I want you to hear this guy. Here's trumpet player. He's a little rusty, but he's got some good ideas. And I listened for a while and it had a familiar ring to it. I just couldn't place it. Finally I said, that's me. He taped a small group that we had up at Westminster, and Laura Major's husband, Don, of course, was a good friend and person I played with many times. I don't know what else I can say to you, Lou, but it's been a great experience.
Thank you. I'll get more from you than you'll get from me. Today. Anyone else like to say hello?
Well, I'm Ann Cronin, and I'm probably the youngest kid on the block because I only started writing for the Herald last year. And, you know, and it was with the encouragement from Lou that I went out and did a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have done. I mean, I got in the cage with the bald eagle over at Roaring Nature Center, took the picture and came back and said, Lou says to me, how'd you do that? I said, well, the guy opened the door and I just went into the picture. And I'm happy to say that I wrote for the last issue something like 8 or 9 stories for the last issue of the paper in January. And it was a great experience.
Thank you. Dan, anyone else like to speak?
Daniel might want to speak.
Daniel, you want to say something?
Daniel might want to speak.
This is my successor, Daniel. Daniel Lewis Ball.
Louder, louder.
Tell him what your grandpa does. Oh, he's honest.
First truth we've heard all day.
What did he say? We can't hear.
Nothing. He said nothing.
But does he do it well?
Oh, that's great.
That's the important.
You like your grandfather?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us why you like him.
Because he does nothing.
But he does it with you, that's probably
That's right.
Does he tell you about things?
No.
No.
Oh, well.
Daniel's going to be a writer when he grows. He's already started. He's writing some pretty good stuff now. What grade are you in at school?
First.
He's starting right off on the right foot.
First grade.
First grade.
Thank you.
What school? What school, Daniel? Oh, that's a wonderful.
Nathan Hill School in Meriden.
Oh.
What kind of stories you write?
How many writing stories do you write?
Ask your grandpa if he knew Nathan Hale.
He lives in a different part of the state.
Okay, Dan, can I have a minute?
Sue Dickens?
Well, there was a guy from the sheriff's department, but he said he'd rather talk to you in private.
What we'd like to say is we're really glad that you all came today, and this has been terrific. And if you'd like to stay a little bit longer, don't feel that you have to go. We'd love to have you hang around and make sure you've signed the card. And thanks for coming out. You'd like to say something?
Yes.
Okay.
Just one more person here. I'm Malcolm Cheney. I was managing editor of the Farmington Valley Herald in 1971 and 1972. I followed Bob Sadler, preceded Karen Lightoff. Some of you remember that. I remember Quincy Beach was providing photographs for us at that time. I would come in around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and lay out the, there's Eunice Kelly, lay out the copy of 32 to 48 page paper, usually working from about 3 p.m. to midnight on Monday night, on Tuesday night, 3 p.m. to maybe 2 or 3 in the morning. And generally Lou was always there. He would sometimes skip out in the latter hours of the morning. I would, if I ran into problems, I would always write in the galley sheet, you know, see Lou. So that on Wednesday morning, Lou would pick up the pieces. It was a significant period in the history of the Farmington Valley Herald at that time because it was a transition between linotype, or hot type, and cold type. It was, you know, I would arrive there sometimes in a winter afternoon and discover that the linotype had not heated up. And if you didn't have molten metal, you didn't have a newspaper. After that, it was a matter of setting up the cold type on the computer, and then Lou would run it up to Winstead to get the paper published. It was really an exciting period. But the most fun was working with Lou, because Lou was really a father confessor, he was a confidant, he was an advisor, not just to me, but to everyone. I remember one incident where we had a stringer who came in and would take up a lot of Lou's time, and I'd just go on and on. And while he was talking one night, Lou had these editing shears and proceeded to cut the fellow's tie right in half. He never noticed that happened. But I never met a man who was known by more people, respected by more people, a man who helped more people, gained confidence in what they were doing, and helped them to improve themselves. So I'd like to congratulate Lou as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Back to you.
That's all, I think, unless someone else has something to say. We can just have more cake and,
I'm fading.
What?